and we're on chapter 19 of Sketches. We'd got up, put away the cots, put our stuff back in our packs, and eaten breakfast of day-old bagels and juice in the kitchen. None of us was in any hurry to leave. I had a new painting I was working on, and Ashley wanted to try another pot. And shortly after the place opened, Gizmo showed up, and he and Brent started working on one of his scooters. They had agreed to work on the next one together. That one was going to be Brent's. We didn't go out to panhandle, or eat, or even to take a breath of fresh air. A couple of times, Brent and Ashley stepped outside for a smoke, but I got the feeling that neither of them wanted to venture more than a few feet away from the entrance. It was like we were all feeling scared and vulnerable, and the building was keeping us safe. I heard a ripple of conversation and turned around to see what everybody was staring at. There were two men, two guys in suits and ties, standing at the door. Even though they weren't dressed in uniforms, it was obvious they were cops. Cops always looked like cops. Nikki saw them and walked towards them. "Good afternoon, gentlemen. Can I help you?" she asked. "Yes, we're looking for a Nikki Fullerman," the first cop said. "That's Fullerton, and that's me." "Sorry, that's the way it's written down," he apologized. They introduced themselves to Nikki and shook her hand. "Is there somewhere we can talk privately?" "Certainly. Let's go to my office." I watched them go. Nikki ushered them into her office, and then, just as she was about to close the door, she gave me a reassuring nod, as if to say, "Don't worry, it'll be okay." I understood what she was silently saying, even if it wasn't very reassuring. I turned away and tried to focus on my painting. I picked up the brush and realized that wasn't going to happen. All I'd do by trying to work on it now was ruin it. It was a painting of Pumpkin, sitting all puffed up on the edge of a dumpster. I put down the brush. I had to talk to Brent and Ashley, let them know what was happening. First, I went to the design and tech studio. Brent and Gizmo were working on one of the scooters. They were both so absorbed in their work that they didn't even notice me enter the room. I cleared my throat. Nothing. I cleared it more loudly, and Gizmo looked up. He smiled. He was a strange little guy, but nice. "Hey, Dana, how's it going?" he asked. "Good. Can I speak to Brent for a minute?" "Sure. Brent, how about I take over with that?" Gizmo suggested. Brent got off the floor, grabbed a rag, and wiped his hands, which were now almost as filthy as Gizmo's. "Do you want to hear about Giz's latest idea?" Brent asked. "Sure, but could I tell you something first?" "It's really a great plan," he said, ignoring the second part of what I just said. "You know those guys who sell nuts and popcorn on the street? Well, did you ever wonder where they get those popcorn contraptions from?" "I'd never really thought about it," I said. "They were a strange sort of combination of popcorn popper and glass case built on a bicycle. They rode through the streets to get to where they needed to get to where they were going to set up and sell." "Well, I don't know where they get them from either," Brent said, "but Gizmo thinks he can make them, and it wouldn't cost a lot of money." "Less than $200 each if we can scavenge the parts," Gizmo said, "and we could sell them for a lot more than that." "A lot more. That is, if we wanted to sell them," Brent said. "But why would you make them and not sell them? Is Gizmo planning to sell popcorn?" "Not him," Brent said. "Other people." "What other people?" "People who want to make some money," Gizmo said. "We could rent them to kids like us, who are on the streets. They could go out and sell popcorn and nuts and then give us a cut of the profits for using the gear. Think about it. They could earn money, really earn money, and not just beg or steal it. They'd be able to have a job, and we could make money too. It would be a business." That's an incredible idea," I exclaimed. "And just think," Gizmo said, "it wouldn't just be a better way for a few people. This could be a way that a lot of people, a lot of street kids, could benefit. It's a way of giving back, the way we're supposed to give back here at Sketches." "That's really great," I said. "Now, you wanted to tell me something?" "Yeah." I looked around the room. There was nobody there but Gizmo, Brent, and me. "We can talk." Brent must have known what I was thinking. "Don't worry about the Giz here." I hesitated for a second and then started. "There are a couple of cops here at the center." "There are cops here all the time," Gizmo pointed out. "Yeah, but these guys aren't beat cops in uniform," I said. "They're in plain clothes, and they asked to speak to Nikki, and they went into her office and closed the door." Then we better get out of here, now, Brent said. Do you think they're here about the body? Gizmo asked. I did a double take. How did he know about that? I told him, Brent said. I know we agreed we weren't going to tell anybody, but I trust him, Trust him like a partner. I won't tell anybody, Gizmo promised. Do I seem like the type of guy who goes blabbing things around? I shook my head. So, you think they're questioning Nikki? Brent asked. What else? You have nothing to worry about. Nikki won't sell you out, not her style, Gizmo said. Even if she doesn't say anything, though, cops have probably figured out that somebody she knows through sketches told her about the body. Maybe even somebody who's here today. Let's not take any chances, Brent said. Let's get out of here. You're better to stay, Gizmo said. You leave and it only draws attention. Cops are kind of like dogs. They chase whoever is running. He was right again. I quickly thought of the number of kids who were in the center today. There had to be 20 or 25 people. Too many for them to know it was Brent or Ashley or me. But few enough they might start asking questions and maybe figure it out. Where's Ashley? Brent asked. She's in the pottery studio. Does she know about the cops? I don't think so. I was just going to talk to her after I talked to you. You should go and tell her now. Whatever we do, none of us should go anywhere near Nikki, especially not you. Why especially me? Because you're underage. We've got to assume your mother passed out those posters to the cops, Brent said. That thought sent a chill up my spine. I'd forgotten about my mother and the posters. I wasn't even thinking about being a runaway. I thought about the way I'd stared at the cops when they came in and then watched them file into Nikki's office. They hadn't noticed me. They hadn't even looked in my direction. I'll go and talk to Ashley, I said, and started to walk away. One more thing, Brent called out after me. I stopped. You can also tell Ashley that the three of us won't be sleeping under any bridge tonight. We have a warm, dry floor where we can lay out our stuff. We do? Yeah, Giz's place. You have a place? I asked. It isn't much. I rent a room on top of a garage, but it's dry and warm. It even has a sink and a hot plate. Does it have a bathtub? I asked. It doesn't even have a toilet, he said. Sorry. No, that's okay. I'm sorry for even asking, I said. Thanks for letting us stay with you. We're really grateful. I'm really grateful. Thanks. Hey, what are friends for? Besides, sometimes it's lonely living by myself. It'll be nice to have people around. I smiled. It was nice to have people around, especially people you could trust. And you're welcome to stay until you save up enough money for your apartment, Gizmo said. Are you serious? Completely. I felt like throwing my arms around him, but I really didn't know him all that well. What the heck? I went over and gave him a big hug. He looked shocked. That's okay. No problem, Gizmo stammered. It looked like he was blushing. I better go and talk to Ashley. Can I tell her about staying at Gizmo's as well? Sure. Always best to give some good news with the bad. I left them to work on their scooter and went into the pottery room. The big kiln in the corner was fired up and was baking some clay. It threw heat clear across the room. Ashley was one of 6 kids working with one of the local artists who used the center. She was at one of the pottery wheels, throwing a pot. I walked over until I stood right over top of her. She looked up briefly, smiled, and then refocused on her work. Her hands were on a piece of clay that she was shaping into a tall, tall vase. She pumped one of her feet to power the wheel, and it spun at an incredible rate, sending little splashes of clay-colored water to splatter her arms and apron. It looks nice, I said. It's getting there, she said. But every time it gets close to where I want it, tall and thin, it just tips over or tears or... Ah! Ashley screamed as the whole top vase came off in her hands and the rest collapsed onto the wheel. That's the 3rd time that's happened. I give up. It's a little early to give up, the instructor said. But it is time to take a break. How about you go out for a smoke and then come back and try again? The smoke I agree with, but the trying again part I'm not so sure about, Ashley said as she got to her feet. The instructor smiled. You know you'll be back. Ashley broke into a grin herself. You want to come up with me while I have a smoke? She asked. Yeah, I want to talk to you. Ashley gave me a worried look. Sure, let's go. We walked to the clay studio and into the main studio area. The door to Nikki's office was still closed. Whatever they were talking about was taking a long time. We walked out the front door. "Could you do me a favor?" Ashley asked. "Sure." "Could you go into my back pocket and grab my cigarettes, please?" Her hands and arms were stained with brown of the clay. I dug into her pocket and pulled out her cigarettes and a package of matches. I put a cigarette in her mouth, lit a match, and held it to the end of the cigarette. She inhaled, and the tip of the cigarette came to life. I shook the match and dropped it on the ground, stepping on it to put it out. "I should probably give these up," Ashley said. I gave her a fake shocked look. "They're not good for your health, you know," she continued. "I know that. I just didn't think I'd ever hear you say that." "Who knows," she said. "Maybe I'll quit smoking and use the money I'm saving to take piano lessons or a dance class. I know hip-hop lessons would do me a world of good." She started laughing, and I couldn't help but laugh along with her. "So what do you want to talk to me about?" Ashley asked. "There are cops, 2 of them, talking to Nikki." "About the body?" "I don't know for sure, but I think so. Why else would they send over 2 plainclothes cops? They've been in there for a long time." "Do you think she'll tell them anything?" Ashley asked. "She might tell them a lot of things, but I don't think she'll tell them about us." "Then we just have to keep our heads down and wait for them to leave." Ashley took the cigarette from her mouth and tossed it to the ground. She'd hardly smoked it at all. "You want me to do a pot?" "Me? Make a pot? Sorry. You want to do a pot?" "Me? Make a pot?" "Yeah. Your easel is right up front. The pottery studio is in the back and out of sight." "I wouldn't know what to do." "Just watch what I do, and I'll talk you through it," she said. "Maybe I should watch you so I can figure out what not to do. It didn't look like you were having much success in there just now," I joked. "Not with that vase. I was trying to do something really hard. I'll show you how to do something easy." "I have a few more things to tell you," I said. I was looking forward to telling her about us staying at Gizmo's place. "Tell me inside, in the studio. I don't want to be here when the cops come out. Come on, let's go."